Math Genie.
In this video, I'll be explaining how to solve complex problems that can actually be easily solved by using the basic concept of combination. Let's look at the question. How many distinct rectangles can be formed by tracing the lines on the grid below? When you first look at this question, you will most likely be tempted to go ahead and draw every single rectangle that you can imagine being formed on this grid, right? However, not only is that time consuming, but in one way, it's not really accurate, right? You might have missed one rectangle or even two or three, so you might get different answers. However, there's a really easy and accurate way of finding the answer to these sort of questions that I'll be showing you guys right now. So in my last video, I talked about basic combination problems, right? So we learned that there is a basic combination formula, and that is basically n factorial all over r factorial times n minus r factorial, which is basically the same thing as n choose r, right? So here we're talking about the n here is the total number of items to choose from, and this r is basically how many you're choosing. So for instance, an example of a basic combination problem might be like you have 7 books on a shelf and you're going to choose 2 books to read. That can be easily be expressed as 7 choose 2, and you basically plug in 7 as n and r as 2 into this formula and you'll get the answer, right? So this is the same concept that you'll be using to solve this complex looking problem. So let me go ahead and show you guys how you can apply the same concept to this complex problem. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. So here it's asking you how many rectangles you can form, right? So let me first draw a rectangle. So you might have a rectangle that looks kind of like this in your mind, right? And you think of rectangle. So we know that here, this is going to be equal to each other, and this is going to be more likely the vertical side of the rectangle, or the length. And you have these two sides, which are more commonly known as the horizontal side, right? Or you might have known it as the width. So every single rectangle has what? It has 2 vertical sides, and it has 2 horizontal sides. Horizontal sides. Meaning that if you want to make a rectangle on this grid, you need to choose 2 vertical sides and you need to choose 2 horizontal sides, right? And this is basically it. You just need to know this basic common sense about rectangles, and you're basically halfway through this problem. Well, how are we supposed to use this fact to solve this problem? Well, let's go ahead and look at the grid here. So let's first look at this vertical side, the vertical side of this huge rectangle. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a total of 4 different vertical sides here, right? You can go this way, you can go that way, this way, or this way. 4 different ways that you can go. However, you only need to choose 2 sides. So you're going to do 4, choose 2. Wait, can you go over that again? You might be wondering. So let me go ahead and show you a quick example. For example, if you want to create like a small rectangle here, that I just made in yellow, well, you're choosing 2 vertical sides. If you want to make like a bigger rectangle, for example, like this, well, you're still using 2 different sides. This is basically how you're supposed to do it. You're choosing 2 sides from the 4 sides that you can choose from. And same thing with the horizontal side. So let's look at the horizontal side for color green. Horizontal. How many horizontal sides do you have? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So in this time, you don't do 4, choose 2, you do 7, choose 2. Right? And what is this equal to? The number of horizontal sides you can choose from. Right? How many different combinations you can get. And let me show you another example with that. For example, if you want to create like a longer rectangle here. So let's try with a different color. Let's try with orange this time. Longer rectangle here. Well, you're doing the same thing. You're choosing, and this time you're choosing 1, 2 sides, right? And you have 1, 2 sides. No matter what you're doing, you're going to get 4 sides. Here you have 4 sides. No matter how small the rectangle is, no matter how big the rectangle is, you still have 4 sides. So you're going to be using the same exact concept to solve this problem. So at the end, you're left with 2 basic combination problems right here. What is 4 choose 2 equal to? Well, 4 choose 2, just plug in the numbers. This is basically going to be 6. What is 7 choose 2 going to be? Well, it's going to be 21 when you calculate it. So at the very end, you just need to multiply these two to find out how many different casework you're going to have. 21 times 6, you're left with 126. So what's the answer to this question? 126 rectangles. It's going to be the final answer to your question. If you look at the answer, you might be wondering like, hey, if I actually sat down and tried to figure out this 126 problems, you're probably wasting an hour or 2 of your day, right? Because it's nearly impossible for you to actually solve this problem accurately just by drawing it on the grid, right? So whenever you're given with these type of problems, always be sure to use the basic combination concept to solve these type of problems, or else you'll be wasting a lot of your precious time. Thank you for staying until the end of this video.
Math Genie.